Welcome back to Discourse, the weekly occult and esoteric podcast hosted by myself, Abammon the Great, and the one and only Dr. Anna Stone. This week, we're diving into the amorphous concept of spiritual awakening, what it really means, how it feels, and the often dramatic lifestyle changes that follow this pivotal step on the soul's path to actualization. So breathe in, young magus, and let the work begin. All right, guys, welcome back to Discourse with myself, Abammon the Great, and Dr. Anna Stone.
Hi.
Hi, guys. So we're back. We're doing an episode on spiritual awakening. It is a beautiful, gorgeous spring Sunday. And this is, kind of the vibe that a spiritual awakening happens once you get through it, right? I guess. Once you come out the other side.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. So why don't you define for our listeners what is meant by the term spiritual awakening as general terms anyways?
General terms. So a spiritual awakening to me personally is basically this actualization or realization of, your spiritual nature and the spiritual reality. It's a very hard thing to put into words, I guess. I really like, there's this meme that I'm like really drawn to where there's like this boy and he's being crushed by a boot and it says before spiritual awakening, and then it zooms out and the boy's actually laughing as he's pressing the boot to his face. And I think that's like, I love that meme and I post it like online all the time because I really identify with like what the spiritual awakening kind of provides you. But I think people have a general idea that it's this kind of white light experience, like kind of like Paul on the road to Tarsus or awakening the Kundalini or something, where it's just this huge explosive event. And a lot of times for a lot of people, that's not the process. A lot of times it's kind of a slow process to where you kind of come into this realization somewhere within it that, oh, things are different now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, what you are saying is that people are just going about their daily lives, living with the belief that that stuff's not real, I guess. And then something happens to where now that becomes known to them.
Yeah.
And it causes them to change in some capacity.
So I feel like where I've seen people go through a slow burn spiritual awakening, a lot of times it comes with intentional action. So if they're going through a process of like, okay, I really need to get my mental health in check, or I'm feeling like I'm being drawn to religion, so I'm going to start exploring, maybe going back to church or something. There's usually an intentional action behind the slow burn spiritual awakening, where I think the white light experiences are the ones where, you kind of get blasted out of nowhere, or sometimes they do happen in the middle of that intentional action that you're taking.
So, all right. So then it's like you're asleep and now you're awake.
Yeah.
Right. But what if you were never asleep?
So you've always been spiritually awakened?
I'm just saying, let's talk about the different types, right?
Okay.
So spiritual awakenings. I'm asking this question because I honestly don't know. I hear people talk about it all the time. Yeah. That they're going through a spiritual awakening or dark night of the soul. That's a common one that I hear a lot. And I just don't know what they're talking about. And so I've asked, like, what do you mean? And they explain what you just did about how they weren't aware of it before and now they are. And that's just so foreign to me because I've never not known. So it's strange. So I had to look into it. I like do research, which is what this is, because I didn't have that. And I remember when I first started hearing about it, like from all of my friends and stuff, I got a little jealous because I was like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't have that happen, Like I didn't have some deity come and show up out randomly in my backyard, like tell me some stuff. So I'm like, what the hell? That didn't happen to me. So have I ever even had one? And then I researched it and realized, oh no, that's not what it was. It wasn't that I didn't have one. It's just that I was already born that way. I was born into the trauma, because trauma is the number one thing that triggers these spiritual awakenings, at least according to research, right? Is that people go through some kind of trauma, whether it's like, it could be anything from loss of a job even to loss of a loved one, relationship, some big trauma, like that happens. Maybe they're abused or something like this, that can cause it too. And then there's the kind that you're talking about where it's like a sought out thing because they feel like they're missing something and they want to like feel more complete, I guess. Right?
Yes.
But I think we've seen a huge surge of it since the pandemic, right? Because online anyways, like it's been everywhere. Because before that, I don't recall seeing so many people talking about this stuff on regular social media, maybe in more specialized areas or like, niche sites. Perhaps that's not true, but at least like on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, like before the pandemic, I didn't see that a lot. Now it's everywhere, right? So something about the pandemic, I think triggered a lot of people into these awakenings.
There was a confluence of events that happened. So there was the influx or the bubbling up of occultism online that was happening in the early 2010s to mid 2010s. Not that the occult wasn't always online, but it started getting really, really popular on the websites that kind of set the culture for the internet. So I guess the websites where the culture, like if you can think of it on like a marketing curve, they would be called the early adopters or whatever. So the websites that are the early adopters before it starts getting to the late adopters on like your Facebook and that kind of thing. That started happening in the early to mid 2010s.
Okay.
Especially the 2016 election, which was a come to Jesus moment
so
for a lot of people.
I do remember a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah. So the framework was built to have all these communities for people to go to and all these alternative spiritual paths for people to seek out. And then what happened with the pandemic is basically the entire world got thrown into fear, right?
And isolation.
So nobody knew if we were all going to die or not, right?
I knew.
And so a lot of really dark behavior started manifesting. People found out they were addicts that never had addiction problems before. People, were obviously engaging in conspiracy theories and trying to like rationalize what was happening to them. And obviously during that time, it's popular theory that during those kind of times, that's when people look for solutions outside of, because the way that most people felt during the pandemic was how could the institutions that we trust, which are the institutions of government and science, let this happen to us. When
come on.
In all reality, a pandemic is a natural disaster. Like no government or scientist is going to be able to stop, a volcano from erupting or how the pandemic happened, it's highly suspect.
It's not highly suspect. It is straight up on purpose. But this is some, I used to think though about this. I was like, what about all the people that are having like affairs? They're going to be so screwed now. Yes. They're either going to be stuck at their affair partner's house or they're going to be stuck at their house and not be able to see their partner. Like how many divorces are going to come of this? That was like my number one thing. I wasn't thinking about spiritual stuff at all because that was already something in my life. Right. But I can definitely appreciate how that would have caused a lot of people to kind of turn inward and try to figure out things in a different way. Yeah. Right. But, I think like a big, after the pandemic though, like I've seen this, huge, just like enormous amount of activity about like, witchcraft, shadow work, and a lot of dark night of the soul narratives. Right.
Yes.
And I think that some of them are legitimate, and it's helpful to have that kind of information. online so that people that never have heard of it might now have the language for something that they're going through. However, I do think that a lot of it is skewed in a way that is self-serving. Like, and what I mean by that is when your life is in shambles and it's a mess, right? Like, it's not always a dark night of the soul. It could very well just be that you're fucking up, right? And that you're not doing things right, and you've got problems that you need to take care of, right? And I do see a lot of those narratives where it's just like, all these bad things are happening to me, and I'm just going through a dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening. And it's like, probably not in some cases, right? So it can be like a little, like with anything regarding esoteric or occult things, there's always some misinformation out there about them, right? That tends to get popularized and, widely adopted by people that don't know what they're talking about. But with regard, because a lot of them are like the love and light, right? Like the love and light spiritual awakenings.
Yeah.
And so after doing research on what an initiation is, right? Like in this context, I came to realize like, oh, no. Like, it's not that I haven't had it. It's just, it's been going since I can remember. Like, it's just been a thing that's happening. And it's definitely not love and light. It's definitely not like a happy, lovely thing. It's always been pretty trying, right? To go through. So I see a lot of people that are like, I want to have a spiritual awakening. And I'm like, maybe be careful what you wish for, because it can be a little bit jarring and destabilizing for people.
Yeah. I mean, that's highly dependent on what you're engaging in. But like, I think to go back to the dark night of the soul, that's a term that's commonly misappropriated in the modern lexicon. The term itself, it comes from Christian mysticism, from St. John of the Cross, who was a contemporary and friend of St. Teresa of Avila. And they were historically, they were probably my favorite Christian mystics, but they highly adept Christian mystics. Teresa of Avila was said to levitate in Mass, which this was happening during the Inquisition. So you can imagine what happened to St. John of the Cross and St. Teresa of Avila at the hands of their own
people,
of their own church. But it was mostly a political thing, that they were upset at John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila because they were trying to reform the Carmelite order, and the church, there was segments of the church that were not happy with that. So they were trying whatever they could do to get John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila to stop doing that. So, obviously as the Inquisition is going on, they're like, well, we can, frame them for, doing bad things.
For being holy.
Being
connected to source.
Insanely adept. And I think anybody, I think it's a benefit of any occultist, doesn't matter if you're a Satanist, to do a little research into John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila, because in my opinion, they are the most advanced mystics to ever come out of Christianity. But St. John of the Cross specifically is where the dark night of the soul comes from. And St. John of the Cross, it initially started as a poem, and then he went to go write basically an expanded commentary on what his poem meant. And it's something that Christian mystics will talk about, especially like within the within Eastern Orthodoxy. But it is a supreme yearning for God, right? And so in occult terms, I guess we could call that, like if you're thinking in Thelema or Golden Dawn, this is when you are in the abyss, when all of a sudden it's just you and God is not there, and you are experiencing the loneliness of God, right? So a dark night of the soul is kind of this blight that the adept seeker, the adept mystic, goes through at some point. It's a threshold that they cross to where all of a sudden they feel as if God is not there. And it's like having a lover that's at war or something. It's just this deep sorrow, like right. Where are you? I love you. Like I want to be in you.
Why have you forsaken me?
Yeah.
That right kind of vibe.
Why have you left me? And getting through that is kind of the resolution of the dark night of the soul. And so the dark night of the soul, it can happen in multiple times through little periods, but there are, advanced mystics where they were in a dark night of the soul for 30 years. So that's not the dark night of the soul is not hey, my life's in shambles kind of thing. It is this heartache that you have for God.
Okay, yeah. Right. Or the sense of like of belonging, right? Like of being part of something, right?
That connection that you have to the universe or whatever.
So it's kind of, there's I had to look up the name because I always forget it. And I have a hard time pronouncing the actual name of it. It's much longer, but the Sanskrit or goddess Ishvari, right? It was the goddess never not broken. And she's the one that's always just devastated and on a pile, like laying on the floor in a broken pile and like being alone and feeling like forsaken and just despair and isolation, desolate, whatever, all those things. And like her power comes from getting up and going on anyway, and then being broken again by loneliness and like, and going through that kind of transformation and then degradation, transformation, degradation over and over and over again. And that's how she gets her power. And I've always resonated with that very much. Because so like I was already born this way. Like I was born awake. From the time I can remember, I was seeing things I didn't realize other people couldn't see, and hearing things that, again, I didn't know people couldn't hear. And even to this day, I don't know sometimes that people can't hear what I'm hearing. But throughout life, there's been all of these moments that have been very, destabilizing, jarring, and transformative at the end, right? Like they seem at the time like just wholly unfair and like completely out of my control. And sometimes they were, sometimes I was responsible for them, but those things, the process of like reclaiming yourself after those things and coming back as a more integrated version of yourself, right? Isn't that the point of having an awakening, is to understand who you are at the core?
I think so. I think what I personally got from spiritual awakening was a sense of peace and liberation, and it happened before I was initiated. So my spiritual awakening, it's so hard. I had spiritual experiences, but I think this ultimate alignment with the self in the present is what the spiritual awakening provided me. And it showed me like the peace of presence. And the thing is, it's a very glimpse, like a very brief glimpse of that, because we operate in the world and are immediately dragged out of it.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the spiritual awakening, it's not really for me, it was not this crazy white light experience where all of a sudden, I get it now. It was more of an understanding that really my purpose was to live a spiritual lifestyle and be in a spiritual spiritual communion with the universe around me, and that's where I was going to find peace. That's where I was going to find happiness.
Right. And what that looks like could be, I guess, different for everybody. Yeah. But I think like the overarching theme there is about being present. And yes, being present, because it's almost impossible to do that in today's world, right? Yeah. Because even when you're having like moments of presence, at some point it's going to get interrupted with something you have to do in the future, right? Whether that's making dinner or preparing something for work the next day or whatever it is. Like there's always something to do, right? And that can be difficult to reconcile those two things, or almost impossible. But it's when we do have those little glimpses or, like little gleaning moments of them that we take advantage of them, right? But it's also, because like I remember that when I did die in, 2016, that when I was out of body and back wherever we come from, that I said to myself, I was right. I knew it. So I, like, it wasn't a moment of like, oh, this is what's really happening, or this is what is really the truth. It was like, haha, I knew this already. I knew it, like just in my kind of flippant attitude that I have most of the time. Like, haha, I was right, like kind of vibe. Because I was like, I had already known this stuff, even if it was just super under the, just under the surface. Like I already had this idea or knowing that like everything's connected and that there's no separation. It's just a filter that we have, so that we think that, so that we ultimately find our way back, right? Because if the whole thing is that God's trying to experience itself through others, because it was bored, right? Then because it's all knowing, right? It has to forget in order to play the game, right? Yeah. So forgetting is part of our game, and that's on purpose. And if we remember, then we are beating the game, or we're at least on track to beat the game, I guess. Yeah. So I already knew without knowing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I had this idea that we're all connected somehow. I didn't know how or why or under what pretense it was, but then I was very aware of it. And so it wasn't like a white light moment for me at all. Like it was just like a confirmation of something I'd already known. So like my near-death experience wasn't not an awakening for me. It was just a confirmation of what I already knew, you know? Yeah. So, because a lot of people say, oh, near-death experience has to be like an awakening. No, it's not. Like, not for me anyway. It could be for somebody else. But like for me, it was just a confirmation of something that I already knew. And like, okay, I'm doing it right.
So when you got back from that near-death experience, though, that's when there was like an elevation or vamping up of your paranormal experiences and psychic. So that, I think that therein lies the difference between initiation and spiritual awakening. So initiation is when the veil is removed, right? Right. That's when all of a sudden the relationship between you and the other side is never the same, right?
I could say that that's true. Yeah. Because I had a lot of experiences previous to that, but they were nowhere near in the intensity, like, or the frequency that they are now at all. Like, they're now so clear, and like I know what's happening. Before I had no control over it, it felt like, and it was very haphazard, and it seemed to be completely pointless. It seemed to be absolutely pointless. Like I would get information that I could do absolutely nothing with, not really share with anybody. It was kind of like, I felt like it was a cruel joke. Like, are you trying to drive me crazy? Like, what's going on here? Now it is something I can access on demand where I could not before at all. Yeah. You know, but I didn't think it was possible, probably. That's why. Yeah,
there was so a spiritual awakening can be very love and light. A spiritual awakening can happen within any context. It can happen with an agnostic. It can happen with somebody that just goes and does beach yoga every Sunday. It can happen with a Christian. You know, a spiritual awakening is just this. It's not necessarily an occult thing. It's something that all people can go through, right? Yeah. However, obviously, an occultist or whatever is gonna have a spiritual awakening before they start practicing magic. They're gonna have to come into some kind of belief or faith that there is something extra.
I mean, and then that's an interesting point, because I wonder, like, is that the case really? Like, is it that people that are drawn to this kind of practice, they just already know, or they had something that happened that makes them want to know more? Like, I'm not sure how that happens. But
I think it's very specific for people that get into the cult, you're saying, right? Yeah. I think it's a very specific type of person. Right. It's you have to have a really independent mindset, maybe a little bit more of a risk taker. Yeah. And then what did we learn when we took our psychiatric?
Yeah, we're a little bit.
Have to be.
Yeah, a little bit Delulu.
Kind of Delulu. A
little bit.
Right?
At least in some areas. Yeah. I mean, if you're Delulu and all, you're not functioning in society, right? Yeah. But and we are not we're not delusional to a clinical level. Like it's just above the threshold of normal, right? Yeah. But it's not to the clinical point yet where it's a problem. It's just a flexible mindset. Like being able to change your. And this is something people have a hard time with, right? Like, because, I mean, there's studies that show that if you hear a lie first, right? If you hear some information and the first version of that information is false, even when you're presented with the correct version of it, 90% of people are more likely to remember and still believe in the false one before even if it's proven otherwise. That's a problem. That's why politicians are so good at what they do, because they're able to just do that, like, and say whatever they want to say, and then as long as they said it loud enough and fast enough, like, and they're the
brute force hacking of the propaganda machine.
That's correct. Yes, exactly that. I mean, throughout history, there's people that have been quoted for that. I'm not gonna say it, but like, that's a very well-known psychological hack on people, is to just repeat a lie over and over and loudly, and people are gonna remember that over the truth. So, like, it's like that. But I don't know. I think that if you have an inkling about the occult personally, then you're probably somebody that already has some level of awakening already activated.
I am 100% of the belief that if you are drawn to the occult, then it is for you.
Yes.
It's. I don't believe people who are not meant to be occultists are. So that's one of the things where it's like, I kind of disagree with the occult elitism, because you're saying, oh, like, this is not for you, and it's like, no, like, as occultists, we believe we were called to this path. I mean, there's a minority of people that are born into it, right? Like, they come from occult families, but that's a very small minority. Most occultists are converts, or
I was raised very Christian.
So it's somebody that does that, because we believe that we're called to it. I have a really hard time anybody at any level that's like operating in the occult to say, oh, like, this is not for you.
You know how I feel about this. And when I'm talking about gatekeeping, what I mean is that there are people that get into it for the wrong reasons, because they want to have some kind of like power over others, right? Like, it's not for self-power, it's for power and dominion over others. Those people, no. Like, well,
so, but this is the difference between being an occultist and being in an institutional religion. Is, as occultists, we have to make choices. There's no safeguards, right?
And no one's telling us exactly how to do it.
So I mean, that's why plenty of people that are called to it, they'll make the wrong choices and end up destroying themselves. Right.
That is true. Yeah. So but I definitely want to talk about, because I got these I didn't know the names for them, but I do now. Thank you, ChatGPT. So the classic one is the triggered awakening, right? Like, that's the classic one that the majority of people experience, right? But you're talking where it's just something triggers it and it starts to happen. And it could be all at once, or it could be slow, right? Gradual. I think most of them are going to be gradual over time. Like, they keep happening.
That's the more common one. And that's always one of the things that when I'm dealing with either an initiate or somebody that I'm doing service work with, that I'm always trying, because people have the expectation that I'm doing this and I'm going to have this, I'm going to wake up one day and have a revelation or something. And the majority of people, that's not the reality. The majority of people, they're going through a process, and then one day they realize everything's different. Like,
but it's like gradual. Like,
it's very gradual. It's not like, oh, I had a vision or some dramatic thing happened to me. But I mean, that does happen too.
That's what we call a premature awakening. Actually, that's what it is. It's caused by severe trauma, or someone's misuse of power over you that causes you to break and like have that, like, because it's a self-protection mechanism, right? Like, so that you could see the bigger picture, and most people aren't ready for it, and it happens, and it's like completely destabilizing for them, right? But then there's the gradual one, which you talked about like, the slow burn one, okay? But then there's reawakening, and I think this one's really common too, is when, as a kid, you knew and you saw things and you heard things, but then as you got older, you were told over and over again that it wasn't real. Then this is like where I think I've experienced this too. Not real. Or you realize that other people aren't seeing or hearing the same things you are, or don't know the same things you are. So you start to push it out. You start to turn towards like science and to deny that any of it's real, right? And so you go through probably, early, your teens through like probably into your 40s. Mostly it's what I've been seeing for all the clients that I have. It's around 35 to 40, somewhere in there, that they start to reawaken again, and they start to come back online, and start to remember that, oh, this used to happen to me as a kid. Or somebody in their family will be like, oh, what are you talking about? You used to have imaginary friends all the time and talk to people that weren't there when no one could see it. And they brush it off as imaginary friends.
Yeah.
But now that they're starting to experience it again, they're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that, you know? And then they get some information that fills in those gaps for them, you know? And I think that's really common, that people reawaken at a certain point in life. Maybe when they've kind of done their like kind of, you know, societal duties of like getting married, having a family, whatever that stuff is, getting a career, and then they have more time.
That's interesting. So you're saying that right now, and it kind of, maybe it has to do with we're given this prescription for happiness, right? You get the degree, and then the career and the wife and the kids and the house. Yep. And then once you have all that stuff, you look around and you're like, why am I unfulfilled?
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that is because we're told this is like the dream. Here's what a successful life looks like, right? Yeah. And then you do all those things and you go by the book, and then you're in your mid 30s to early 40s and you're like, now what?
Now what?
You know, like what is going on? And then now you have that space to start to be like, what am I missing? And start to do that introspective work about what's going on.
I think never that's made really that common. Connection. Yeah, I never made that connection before until you said that right now.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that's what happens to like the majority of people that are my clients have that going on. Yeah. Like honest, like almost all of them do. Mm-hmm. And I always ask, I ask the question no one should ask women is, how old are you? Because I always, and it's always about.
You can say that amongst girls though.
Yeah, right? But even some don't want to say. Yeah. But which is silly. Like I don't get it. But it's always around 40, around 38 to 40 for women that it starts to, you know, maybe not fully, but it starts there. Like, and then it keeps going, and it starts to become, it starts like in a distant rumbling, and it starts to get closer and closer and closer until it's like so loud that you can't handle it and you have to do something about it, you know? And like, and that's also what happened to me, like, because I went into science. Like I became a scientist. Like I was like, this isn't real. And it's probably because it was so unsettling for me to be told constantly by everybody around me that these things aren't real, but yet I'm experiencing them. So something's wrong with me, right? I'm broken. Something's very wrong. And I went to years of therapy for this and got put on tons of medications for this. And at the end of the day, they did nothing for me. And I just felt like I'm past the point of being helped, right? I like really felt that way. And then when I was 38, I had my near-death experience. And then I came back and was like, yeah, no, I'm not broken. Yeah. I'm okay. Like, fuck, I was right this whole time, dude. And everybody else was fucking wrong. God damn you guys. You know what I mean? Like, and I was mad about it, actually. I was like really pissed because I was like, I had the right idea the whole time and everyone told me I was wrong. They were gaslighting me. Like, this is bullshit. And this is why the drugs don't work. This is why all these drugs. That's why they didn't work. It's because it wasn't a problem that I was having. That was something that could be classified in a DSM. It was the fact that I just knew shit that you're telling me I can't know, but I did. And you won't accept that. And that's totally bullshit. That's why in the United States, actually, we have the highest prevalence of mental illness. And it, you know, it begs the question, like, to question, like, how much of that is actual mental illness and how much of it is just people knowing shit that other people tell them that they can't possibly know.
Oh, yeah.
So they say they're crazy. You know what I mean? Or delusional or whatever. Because over time, it's like, you know, there's conditioning, like it's Pavlovian response. Like if you're continually told something and it's contrary to your reality, like at some point you're going to either capitulate to that, like and say, fine, you know, you're right. And believe whatever they're telling you, or you're going to continue to rebel against that. And then you're going to be labeled a problem or something else, you know, like, or that you're sick. Right. So, I really believe that that's why the United States has such a high prevalence of mental illness, is because a lot of people aren't actually ill. They're just being lied to and told that their reality is not real when in fact it is.
Yeah. I mean,
some of them.
I definitely.
Not all of them. Yeah. There's a lot of people mentally ill in this country.
I definitely, I'm of the mindset that most of the things that a lot of the times the mental illness is a symptom of a spiritual illness.
That's what I'm talking
about. Yeah. A lot of the times, right? I mean, I'm not, you know, obviously there is chemical imbalances and that kind of thing.
No, but there's chemical imbalances from drugs. because drugs give you a chemical imbalance. Okay.
Yeah.
But they don't test for that shit before they give it to you. They don't test your brain for that. So how the hell do they know that? Like, hello, it's logical thinking here. Yeah. Like that's facts now too, by the way.
Yeah.
Proven.
But I definitely believe that, because we're within this like secular society, that a lot of the times when somebody is having these issues, they, are looking for the solution in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah.
And so then it gets classified as depression or anxiety or that kind of thing, when it's really like you're unfulfilled.
Right.
And you need to be seeking it. Like if it's a spiritual problem, you need a spiritual solution.
Or you're experiencing something that is of spiritual nature, and meds don't help that. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, they might numb it, right, a little bit, but it's not going to do what it's supposed to do for you. And that's why a lot of people don't get any relief from those things. So, and then also those things are meant to make you more tolerable to the people around you, not to help you. So it's like they're not even addressing the core problems, right? They're just like, oh, you're anxious. Maybe you're anxious because you know a whole bunch of shit, and you're worried about it because it's going to happen, and then it happens, and then everyone's telling you that that you're crazy, even though there's proof. Because that I know for sure that happens all the time. That used to happen to me. I'd be worried about something, and people would say it was all in my head, and then it would happen. And did no one ever validated, like, oh, you did know that was going to happen ahead of time? No. They just told me I was crazy. And it was like, now that I know, I'm like, okay. Because that's a really big pill to swallow, pun intended, for people that don't believe in it. Yes. So admit that you were right about something that they told you were wrong about. Like that, people don't like to be wrong. And people don't like to admit to things that they don't understand because it scares them. So in a way, it's all about self-serving for the general populace and not the person that's actually experiencing it, right? So we're not providing any kind of benefit by doing that to people and not hearing them out. So that's why I was semi-happy about the fact that they did include the spiritual component in the DSM recently, because at least now there's room to talk about it, whereas before there was not. It was straight black and white, Yeah. And now at least there's a little bit of gray area, which I wouldn't bank on, but, so I still don't suggest telling therapists that you talk to people that no one else can see. I wouldn't do that just for insurance liability reasons. But you want to be careful about that. But it is true. Like it's a spiritual issue some of the time, a good majority of the time it would be, not all the time. Yeah. There are mental illnesses out there that are real and do exist and need to be treated. But there's ones that are simply the separation from source, or the feeling of separation from source causes these feelings of anxiety and despair that can be misinterpreted as anxiety disorder or depression. Absolutely.
So when the Catholic Church performs exorcisms, they make sure that they rule out all the stuff before they're like, all right, like they send them to a psychiatrist and that kind of thing. I'm thinking it might be maybe we should
the other way around.
get in front of Congress, and be like, hey, so in every psychiatrist's office there needs to be a wizard, and the psychiatrist and the wizard need to come into an agreement. This is a mental illness. No, this is a spiritual issue.
No, for real. I mean, why not? Why is it do it the other way around? Like, if there's no validity to what we're saying right now, okay, why does the church do it that way? Why does the church rule out mental illness first and then leave it there? Why doesn't it go both ways?
Well, yeah,
because it's never the it's never the psychologists that contact the church.
Yeah,
never. It's the families that do, right? The families do. Hey. They're not getting any relief, right?
Yeah.
It's never the psychologist that goes, I can't help you because I'm not an expert in this.
Yeah.
Let me call the exorcist, right?
Well,
right?
So the only thing that does happen the only time you'll see a doctor recommending you to some type of spirituality is with addiction.
Interesting.
Every time, if you go see a psychiatrist or a therapist or a medical professional, a doctor, a physician, they will tell you, look, we can't do anything for you, but there's these guys that believe in a higher power and they'll help you with your addiction.
That's suspect as hell. Like, see, people do know.
It's crazy. It's
crazy. That's interesting.
But it's for real. That is within medicine, within modern medicine, the best form of treatment that doctors will recommend it. If you go, they'll say, go get into 12-step recovery.
I know. I mean, you're right. And I never really thought of it in that way though. Like that's true, because that is the only time I've never had a doctor suggest to me any kind of religious practice ever. Like, except for that. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, yeah. So there is some knowledge, right? But it's just limited to, you're an addict.
I think it's because that's what they're taught in school, right?
Right. But where did that?
They're taught in school. Like that, when you're dealing with an addict, like we can't give him drugs to make him not addicted. So send him over to 12-step recovery, Yeah. So that's what they're taught in school. I mean, they don't really need to think about it. Like a lot of doctors are not familiar with, what 12-step recovery believes about addiction. They just know that's just where I send them.
Right. Yeah. That is true. I was just going to say that. Like, how many of them actually know that is what the core principle is behind it? They probably don't know that. They probably just know that they somehow it works. This is
where I send them.
Somehow it works. Yeah. So whatever they're doing over there, who cares? Not
so that
my problem.
one flies under the radar.
Yeah,
a little
there you
bit.
go.
Yeah.
It's like under the guise of 12 steps, but really it's just religious stuff or spiritual. Sorry, spiritual.
They like to present themselves as agnostic.
Right. I know. Yeah. I did go for a minute. I remember. And that's a very valid point though, because if there's nothing to it, then why does it work, right? In that sense, and yeah, I mean, I think that another issue with awakening though is that when people go through it, right? Like I know this happened to me for sure, is it can also be a isolating event or isolating situation, but then afterwards it's also isolating because the people around you, there's a big tendency for the people around you to not be comfortable for you anymore, like to not be a place where you can go anymore for friendship or camaraderie or whatever, because they are not able to understand what you're talking about and will dismiss it.
Well,
right?
you become more sensitive to like spiritual inconsistencies within people. Your priorities change, right?
Oh, yeah.
So friends that you used to like hanging out with, maybe all of a sudden you just feel that makes me feel bad when I'm around this person and they're behaving like that, or like it makes me feel sick or
it
something.
Drains me.
Yeah,
draining.
Exactly. Draining. Like for me personally, if I'm around somebody that's, really bad, I start to get nauseous.
Right.
That's not common. That's definitely not common, but every once in a while I'll run into somebody that is just really deep in it, and it makes me,
I know what you're talking about.
Makes me nauseous.
Yeah.
But it's like your priorities change. And so maybe, you find solace in different friends, people that are kind of on the same
path,
yeah.
Right, because a lot of the people that we were originally friends with aren't on the same trajectory as us, right? So like this is, and a lot of people can look at this as a negative, but I think it's actually a real positive, because it's not a bad thing that you've outgrown somebody.
Yeah.
That's actually a sign of growth, right? It doesn't mean that you have to leave it on bad terms. It just means that, you're just moving on to something that's better fitted for what you're doing and where you're going, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's going to be people that you already were probably contemplating, like, I don't know, this seems to be
like,
a problem.
That they're like, I mean, I had one of my longest friends, my high school friend, I call him my crammy, because me and him, we got into a lot of trouble together.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's not that I don't like him. Like, I got love for him. He's like a brother to me.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I can't do that anymore.
I can't be around.
Yeah. Yeah, trigger
like that.
Shit.
It's like when I am with him, sometimes I'm, it just doesn't feel the same,
Right. Yeah.
So it's better to think of him as like,
as the nice memory that you have of the bad times.
The
like debauchery.
The debauchery, the fun you have when you're getting into trouble, you
right.
know.
But, I have tons of friends like that too from the past that I'm like, oh, good old days. But that was a part of my life that's not a part of my life anymore.
Yeah.
And and I think that that's also part of a test too, right? Like, so whenever you are encountered with those kind of situations where you would be typically you would have gone for the wrong choice and you decide to excuse yourself from that. That's you asserting your new kind of path. Yeah, and it reinforces what you're doing. You know, it shows that you have agency and that you do have control over things. So I would say, and this might be a little rude, but I would say that, but I'm known for that, so whatever, is that I think that if you think that you're having a spiritual awakening or that you've had one and you're still in the mindset of being a victim all the time and that everything bad's just happening to me all the time and I have no control over it, then I'm going to say that's probably not what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's why I like that meme so much, because it's like I think one of the hallmarks of a spiritual awakening is that you realize that you did it. You did everything you do everything to yourself, and you have a choice in every single thing that happens to you. And how are you going to process that? How are you going to view that? How are you going to frame it? Are you going to be able to find God or a spiritual connection or whatever it is in that situation? Right. And it's really the hallmark of a spiritual awakening is taking responsibility for your spiritual self.
So you know? I will let me just kind of tweak that a little bit. I would say that if the stuff that is causing you to have, or that you believe is causing you to have these bad outcomes happened in childhood where you didn't have control over it, then that's not what we're talking about. Because as a kid, you don't have control over your circumstances, right? But what you do have control over is later on when you have your fully formed brain and all of that stuff, how do you view it, right? How do you perceive what happened to you? And are you still holding on to it wasn't fair? Or are you now going and taking a look at it from a different perspective, saying like, what benefit did I get from it? Because no matter what happens in life, no matter how terrible, horrible, atrocious, whatever, there's always some silver lining to it. And that could be anything from that you came away from it with more resiliency, with more compassion, with more empathy, whatever, right? There's always something. And it could take years for someone to get to the point where they could actually view that situation from a detached mindset like that and be able to identify those things, right? But that's what we're talking about. Like, so how do you view it and how do you allow it to still control you, right? Because it's very easy for us to continue on in the victimhood mindset if that's all we've known.
Well,
right?
So I think, like, as an example, it's hard because, you know, I could talk about things we see on TV. Like, one of the things I like to think about a lot is when you watch true crime and they do the victim statements during the hearing or whatever, and you'll have certain people that go there and they cuss out and like, I will never forgive you, I hate you. And then you'll have other families that walk up and like, you know, we've let go, we forgive you, and we hope, you know, that you learn from this, even though, you know, something very tragic's happened to. And it's like, it's kind of like hard to like say that's the right thing to do, that's the wrong thing to do, because only you know in that situation what's going, like how you're going to feel about it, how you're going to process it. But I can say, you know, I think the most recent death that I experienced that was close to me was you know, there were people that moved through it, and then there were people that got stuck in these kind of like compulsive obsessions and got stuck in their grief or whatever. And I remember one of the things that when I was moving through my process of grief, one of the things that I kept saying to people, and I was saying to people because I was trying to affirm it myself, was that, you know, I lost somebody that was an extremely transformative force in my life, somebody that made me into a better man. He was like a mentor to me.
Right.
And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the person that I was today. And so it's very tragic to lose him.
Right.
However, the way that I was able to frame that was that, you know, through his tragic death, you know, I can get angry, or I can, you know, why would you take him? He was too young, that kind of thing. Or frame it as in, you know, he still lives on, and I'm going to continue to let him transform me, because really his tragic death was an act of like that was a transformative act still. Yeah. He was still transforming me. And I think that's really like the difference between, you know, how you're going to process something that is horrible, that seems unfair and completely out of your control. It's like, well, like, what can you get out of that? How can you frame that? And so his death, as tragic as it was also this beautiful, I was able to find that, catharsis and that release and just there is a certain intrinsic beauty within, tragedy and loss and death and that kind of thing.
It's kind of like the idea of like, you can't control how other people, what other people say to you or whatever, but you can control how you react to it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Like, so you can decide to argue with every single thing that you disagree with that comes out of someone's mouth, right? Or you can accept the fact that that person thinks differently than me, and that's their thing, and that's okay. I don't have to agree with everybody. It's like, it's just how you interpret it and how you can twist it into being this thing that holds you down and you carry the burden of it your whole life, or you can release that and let go of the negative parts and only keep the positive parts that remain, right? But again, this is easier said than done a lot of the time, and it takes some serious awakening to be able to do it. And that's part of it. So when we talk about like this idea of a false awakening, right? Like then you'll know that you've had a false one if you're still unable to do those things. Like if you still can't get over certain things that, you feel are unfair, or you're still harboring like animosity towards a situation or people or whatever.
If it's still you against the world and it's not you moving through the world.
Right, exactly. Or you're not taking the lessons that have been given to you so freely, right? Like, because we all go through things that suck. And you can tell who is capable of seeing the bigger picture, right? And who's not, because if they're still just grudge holding constantly, like grudges are not good either, because that actually what it's doing is those people that you're talking about is a great analogy you gave about the true crime. Because those people didn't forgive that person that took away their loved one for the person's benefit. They did it for their benefit.
They did it for their
own benefit.
100%.
Because finding the ability to forgive someone for something so atrocious as the murder of someone you love, like, and most likely a child, like someone's kid, no matter a child age or adult, doesn't matter. That right there is that person being able to say, I couldn't control that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I can control my reaction to it. Yeah. And I'm not going to let this person over here ruin my life. Yeah. Not. So that's up to you. That's your choice. You can live in it and continue to harbor all that, or you can be free of it. Right? I mean, that doesn't mean that the memory will go away. It doesn't mean that the scars will fade. It just means that you're not carrying anger and resentment around with you. Yeah. And that is then the act of transmuting, right? Anger into acceptance, and that is now you've done the process of alchemy, like, and so now you're a fucking master alchemist, right? Like, so powerful. It is. It's a very powerful thing, and it's really hard to do. It's not easy. But like I hear people saying, "Oh, I had an awakening," and I'm like, "What happened?" And they say something, and then they start immediately talking about and fuck this and fuck that, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't think so, so much, and I'm definitely not excluding myself here, because I still have issues, that I hold on to that I'm still working through. But like the point is, I'm working through them.
Well, the work is never done.
Never done, guys. It's never done.
The awareness is the important part of spiritual awakening. Like I slip backwards all the time.
Right. Yeah. It's unrealistic to say like, and okay, yeah, that's important to note too, is that it is unrealistic to say that there aren't going to be things that make you mad and that are bullshit that happen, okay, in life. Absolutely. That's not possible unless you live a really charmed life, okay? And it is always going to be going on. And it's probably going to happen repeatedly over and over again, like in your life. And every time you encounter it, it's an opportunity for you to do it a different way, right? And that's why you see people that continually have the same thing happen to them over and over. Or like, we all have that friend that is always having catastrophes befall them, right? Like
that's always the most suspect thing to me.
What? Yeah.
When it's like, like I had somebody a few months ago or whatever, and in like one morning they got into a car accident broke their laptop and were like 3 hours late to work. And, you know, to them, they're explaining to me like what a horrible day they've been doing. But like in my head, I'm thinking like, you are fighting the universe. What are you doing wrong?
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
It's like that kind of stuff doesn't happen to people that are
accepting their lesson.
That are just I mean, that's kind of like the magic and the Esoterica situation. If you are like truly in tune with the universe, you know, a bad thing will happen like here and there, but like those days where like everything goes wrong, like that to me, when I'm having those days, that is an indicator that I'm not
sitting here.
Yeah.
Right. So like, yeah. So like for me, I like, just so like to put it in like understandable terms, it's like for the longest time, I would have the most horrible relationships with people. Yeah. Like every person I was dating was like just some version of horrible, and they'd be different. But if you looked at it in a whole, as a picture, it would be kind of the same, you know, different players, different stage setting, but the same overall vibe, right? Like the same lesson happening that I just was not picking up on. Yeah. Over and over. And I'd be like, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? You know? And at the end of the day, it ended up being because I wasn't valuing myself the way I needed to, and I was accepting less than appropriate treatment, right? Yeah. That was my fault. Like, was it my fault that they treated me that way? Yeah, because I allowed it, right? Like, I mean, I wasn't the one doing it to me, but I was also, because I allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. And I would just be like, why does this keep happening? And now, you know, looking at it from a distance, I'm like, oh my God, duh. But when you're in it, it's almost impossible to see it. It's like sometimes, and if you're stubborn like me, you're not going to hear it first, second, third, fourth time. And then finally there'll be some event that happens that's so bad in your face that you don't have a choice anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or you still have a choice, and you might still choose to ignore it and like continue on. And then it'll just keep getting worse and worse over time, right? Until you're just left a bitter person, and like your life's just full of anger and resentment and animosity, right? Yeah. And we all know those people too, right? Yeah. And that's not how you want to live. I mean, that life sucks. You know, I've lived that life and it's no fun. Yeah, it's not. But you're right. After you become able to discern between what's a lesson, you know, and what's just an inconvenience in your life, right? You know, like what's an actual lesson, and you start to be able to say, even if you're not able to let go of it yet, as long as you're acknowledging that you need to let go of it and you need to work on letting go of it, right? That's going to put you in a much better place than if you're just in denial about it, right? And things stop happening those ways. Like, since I understood, once I finally understood why I kept finding myself in that same situation, everything changed. It was like, there's the white light moment for me. It was like, oh, now my friends are awesome. Now my relationship's awesome. Now I'm not, you know, stuck with somebody that treats me like shit. Like, this is because I was never stuck. I was never stuck before. I thought I was, but I wasn't. I kept myself there. Like, you know what I mean? So, but if you tried to tell me that back then, I would have like been so mad at you. Oh yeah. You know, and really recoil. And that's another thing, is like, if you are told by people that care about you, that have no like ulterior, you know, like people you know you can trust, and they're trying to tell you some shit and you get all defensive about it, that's a really big sign that you are wrong. That you're wrong and you're not listening to what you need to listen to, right? Like that recoil, that visceral reaction you get when someone's telling you, oh yeah, what's up, and you don't like it.
Yeah, that's something trying to keep you stuck in something.
And then let's also be clear that even once you have been able to let go of things like that, there will always be another opportunity for it to enter your life. Yeah. Like, because those things will keep happening. It's just, do you engage or not?
Because it knows that it can get you that way. Right. And so it's going to keep trying.
Yeah. So do you engage or do you not engage? Right. Yeah. Then it's like with people that will get you in trouble, like, you know, your old time friends, or like my old time friends. It's like, criming. Yeah. Like, I would love to, but I don't think so. You know, it's so easy to say yes and fall back into old patterns. Right. Yeah. And like, and again, there's like, it's like 1 step forward, 10 steps back a lot of the time. Right, with this process of like, but the purpose of it, I think at the end of the day, is to really be in your true like authentic self, know who you are, Like, because when you're with all these other people that can influence you, right? And like influence you to act in ways that are against your greater good or whatever, then you're not truly being in yourself. You're allowing others to help form you. When it's you need to be in charge of you need to have agency over yourself, right? Yeah. So that's, I think the point of these awakenings is to become one with yourself and know who you are, know thyself, right? Mm-hmm. Like all of the ancient texts say is know thyself. Mm-hmm. And what that means is trick. What does that mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. You know, macrocosm is microcosm. Man created in God's image. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is that you are it.
Yeah.
It's all you. I am you, you are me. Everybody's the same.
Yeah.
I know that for sure because I saw it. But like, I gotta admit, in this iteration, it is still hard for me to like understand it sometimes because there are people so different from us that are so contrary to what, you know, like they have beliefs that are contrary to what I believe, or their actions are just so like detrimental to their own well-being that I just can't understand where they're coming from. And then I have to take a step back and be like, I was that person at some point, you know? And like a lot of the time, the people that we don't like, that we don't really have we don't like, you know, Susan from accounting or whatever the fuck, you know, no offense to anyone named Susan from accounting, but like those people are mirroring something in us that we don't like about ourselves and that we have to like identify what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
And that's part of this whole awakening process too, is to awaken to who you are and to integrate all those fractured segments of yourself back into one, right?
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I think another issue though with awakening is the obsession that can come out of it, right? There are people that are obsessed with it, the idea of having an awakening, and they're trying to force it all the time.
I think they're more obsessed with a white light experience.
Okay, what do you mean?
A white light experience, like a mystical vision, a revelation, an angel visited me, you know, that's when you say spiritual awakening, that's what comes to mind with the general public. Yeah.
Like they got visited, like, you know, like one of those angel visits or something. Some crazy experience that all of a sudden everything was different, when the reality of the situation is that for most people it's a consistent action that changes your outlook on the world around you. Right.
That's the reality for most people. But the mystical experiences do happen to people.
True. And but like, I mean, like when I've been interviewed about my NDE, for the sake of time, I say, oh, it changed my life and everything changed. And it was like right away. It was not right away.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's still happening 9 years later. Like, so it is not, it was not just like, oh my gosh, everything changed. It was gradual, albeit accelerated from normal, I would say, but it wasn't just overnight. Yeah. It was like there was time had to be taken to process what the fuck just happened. You know, like that was part of it. You know, like, oh my God, I died. I should probably change some things. You know, like it started there.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Like, fuck, dude, I could have just orphaned both my kids.
But yeah,
you know, like that was the first realization I had.
You could start. Oh, I need to change some things, and then the realization comes later, you know?
Right, exactly.
Because that's how, like, with the people that I sometimes work with, a lot of times that's how it is. You know, they're like, I'm just going to do this and hope something comes out of it. And then somewhere in the timeline, whether it's a few weeks or a few months, they all of a sudden realize, oh.
Yeah, and then that O will lead to another O and like another one, and it's like an unfolding, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not and it's not linear. Like it's not a linear path. It's not like a straightforward trajectory. It can take you off to the side about things that you thought you'd already figured out and have to re-engage with again. You know, like there's a lot of things. There's a lot of backtracking too that has to happen a lot of the time.
Yeah, there was my friend that just visited us this past week. He was a staunch atheist to the point where it was like an intrinsic part of his personality, and he still, you know, decided, you know, this spirituality thing a go and see what comes of it. And, you know, he went through a kind of horseshoe where all of a sudden he was like, oh, wow, like I'm awake to this. And now he's at a point where he's now balancing, originally his overzealousness for spirituality, going back to his, you know, rational, skeptical mind, balancing, which is like, that's a totally normal thing to do, especially for somebody that's like agnostic, or, you know, that isn't concerned about signing up for a religion or getting involved in a magical practice. Is just somebody that wants to live a healthier, happier life, you know? And like that's totally normal thing. But you could see this person that started like, I want to see if I can have this spiritual awakening. So I'm gonna just, you know, put my head on hold, and I'm just gonna go through the motions. And somewhere in going through the motions, he had a spiritual awakening. He's like, oh, there's actually something to this. This is real. My life is better now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I love it when I hear that, and especially for that situation. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, like, so I would say for people that are like on the fence about it, or like, or think that it's stupid, I challenge you to just look at your calendar and take like, I don't know, a month, mark the date at the end of that month on your calendar. And that end date can be the day you revert right back to your old ways of thinking it's all bullshit. Yeah. But for the time between that end date and now, go ahead and just suspend abandon yourself to it. Let it go. And because it's number one, it's free. Okay. Yeah. If it doesn't work, you're not going to be any worse off than you already are. Right? You're not. So, but like the possibility that you're better off is a real thing. And like, why not just afford yourself the opportunity to check it out, fuck around and find out, you know?
Fuck around and find out. Yeah.
Right?
I think that's where the love and light stuff comes in handy.
Yeah, maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of throwing yourself into an initiation or something where it's like, powers of the dark forces are tearing my life limb from limb.
I'm going through a shamanic dismemberment right now.
I'm like self-induced spiritual psychosis, you know.
But no, just like let yourself go a little delulu for a little bit, you know, if that's what you think this is. Yeah. If you think it's just delusion, then why not just try it out for a little bit, see what happens. If you're right, you're right. Awesome for you. Yeah. If you're wrong, then you got a better life out of it. Like you win either way, honestly. Yeah. Like that's what I did. That's literally what I did. I like marked the calendar and I was like, if I haven't figured shit out by this date, I'll go back to letting myself stress about everything, letting myself worry. But until this, I'm going to just put that on hold, and I'm going to trust in the fact that the universe has got my back and that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, it fucking worked. And with that one win, I was able to continue to the next thing and the next thing. And now it's 4 years later, and life is fucking great. Yeah. And 5 years ago, it was not. It was fucking nightmare. So like the only difference was the mindset, the change of the rigid belief system that none of this is possibly real. You know what I mean? Like this, that all has to be some kind of trick of my mind, you know, like, well, if that's the case, so be it. It's still working for me. Like, who cares? Like, you know, if it works, it works, but you'll never know if you don't try it, you know, but you got to be open to it and you got to be able to see it when it happens. Right. Because I see a lot of people that have also had things that could absolutely have been an awakening for someone else that they just were not willing to see it, you know? And again, it won't be the same for everybody. Everybody's going to be unique. So like what happened for me is not going to be the thing that happens for you. Likely it's going to be something completely different because it's going to be speaking to you individually, right? Like this is not a one size fits all kind of thing. Yeah. Right? I mean,
there's a definite feeling and behaviors associated with it. So I can definitely tell when somebody just through their mannerisms, their behaviors, and the way that they speak. But yeah, the events are different. But you can discern, like, for example, like all the people in my life are basically in the same space that I'm in. Whether they're religious or not, they're the same type of people. They're all people that are consistently bettering themselves and taking things in a healthy spiritual way. Right. They're actively engaging in their own betterment, right? Yeah. Yes. In their own betterment and in, you know, trying to become this living a spiritual lifestyle, I guess.
Like a whole person.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's, I magnetized those people once I, started going through once I started taking it seriously, once I was like, this is a lifestyle.
Right. I think also people can show up in your life right before it too.
Yeah.
Like right before you're like on the precipice of like doing it, or like you don't know it maybe, but the universe does. And so someone will show up in your life that'll help you kind of walk through it or be there for you.
Yeah.
Because and so pay attention when somebody like that comes into your life that seems to be like the version that you'd like to be of yourself, right? Like if you notice someone that has the things that you want. Look
for the people that glow. And
then
just like, follow them around.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. That's how you end up in a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta watch out for that.
Yeah. Some guy's like super good at meditating. He's like glowing and people are just like, oh my God. Yeah.
So here's how you avoid the cult thing though. It's like when someone promises you anything or tells you that they know exactly what's going to happen to you, run, because they don't. There's no way that they can know what events will befall you that will lead to this because they're not you. Yeah. Now, like you said, there are certain like core like aspects that are going to be very similar for everybody, which is the response to it.
I think the result is the same.
Yes, the way you get there is different.
The way that people act, and it's not the cosmetic things, right? No. It's just you can see how people are processing the situations they're in or the words that they're in. Or experience, you can see in lifetime how they're processing it and reacting to it, and you can tell exactly like how in touch they are with a spiritual lifestyle. Right. So one of the things that I consistently see, I guess in the entry level of the cult, is people that are in that like I'm fighting the universe kind of mindset. They're thrashing around. They've got like these like really hardcore ideas about the ways that things should be or the ways that people should act or the way that the world should operate. And that is the biggest indicator to me that this is somebody that has not received that spiritual awakening yet.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. Because it literally from an abstract emotional level, that to me is somebody that is, in the middle of an ocean and
they're struggling against the current.
They're struggling against the current, right? Because somebody that has gone through an awakening, who has gone through an awakening, is a lot more able to just accept everything that's coming at them
and go with the flow.
And just
that whole saying, and it's kind of funny because we have these sayings in modern culture that we use all the time that are absolutely like about this process that until you've gone through it, you don't know. Yeah, like go with the flow. That is exactly. That sounds so cheesy and lame, right? Like it's like. But it is exactly that. It's like, it's coming at you for a reason. Yeah. What's the reason? Let's go with it. Let's look into it. Let's find out, and look at things as an opportunity for growth rather than an opportunity to be stifled or.
Well, it's that decision. It's that realization that, I mean, it's funny saying this as a magician who believes I can warp reality with incantations and objects.
I can too.
But it's that idea of I can't change anyone or anything else. I can only change how I react to it.
Yes, but I have another viewpoint on that. Your magic wouldn't be successful if it wasn't already meant for you anyways.
What do you mean?
So you're not really warping. We're not really warping our reality.
Yeah.
We're just bringing it to us that we already were going to get anyway.
I think that's the weird thing about the astrological magic that I do, because it's about timing. It's about the stars aligning, right? So it's like, was this going to happen anyways because the planets aligned or that kind of stuff? No, because you were there to receive it. And so I try not to think too much about it because I'm just like, whatever, it's that's not important. The important thing is that I get something out of it, whether it's spiritual treasure or whether it's some really powerful practical magic.
Right. But, I mean, it's not like there's that saying that you can't fuck up something that's meant for you, right? Yeah. It's like, I mean, I'm sure you could if you really tried.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, if you don't get a job you really wanted, right? Like, okay, you could let that beat you down, or you could accept the fact that it wasn't the right fit for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's a huge one right there. You know,
that can be hard.
Yeah, it can be hard because it's kind of like when you buy a lottery ticket and you start fantasizing about all the ways you're going to spend the money. Like when you find that, like, you apply for that job that you think this is going to be the one that I'm going to be the happiest at, you know, when you start fantasizing about how great your routine's going to be and, you know, how great the benefits are going to be, or what a difference you're going to make in that workplace. And then you don't get the job and then you're just like devastated. And it's like really just getting into that mindset of, you know, I'm going to be at the place that's right for me at the right time.
That is exactly it. So that's the problem, is that people are too specific about things like that, right? It's like you have to be more open. So you don't know what you don't know. Right. Yeah. So you might look at something and think that you really want that thing. Right. And then that thing turns out to suck. Okay. And so you're like, what the hell? I thought I really wanted this. That's because you're being too rigid about what you think you want. Like, you have to say, what's the generalized version of this? Right. Yeah. Like, you know, generally I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled, etc. And then let that come to you. Yeah. Don't like try to narrow it to one thing. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Right. It's like trying to put all your eggs in one basket. Stupid. Like, be more open to it. If you because the other way is going to just lead to disappointment, and then you're going to think you failed at it. Well, now you think you failed at it, so now you failed at it because you believe that. So you have to be more general with it. Like, okay, these are the things that I want. At the end of the day, what does my day look like? Right? Like, that's what I did for my jobs that I got that I really wanted. What do I want? I want to work this much. I want to make this much money. You know, I wanted this stuff. How am I going to get there? Did I think I was going to be in the current position I'm in now? No, I don't know anything about what I'm doing now, right? Like, it's all new to me. But the outcome of it is exactly what I wanted, right? It's providing the stability and security that I've always wanted, even though the actual, like, stuff that I'm doing is completely foreign to me. I'm still getting what I wanted at the end of the day. Yeah. So, and I remember when I went to the interview for that job, what did I say when I came home? I don't want it. Remember? Yeah. I said, I don't want that job. I don't think I want it. If they offered it to me, I wouldn't take it. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
I said that. Well, I did take it because it was presented to me.
You also don't like change.
I don't like change.
Like, whether it's good or bad. But I'm the same way. I like good change for me is still the most stressful thing in the entire world.
Well, this one, I mean, like, moving for me is always like the worst, right? Yeah. And I don't know why, because every time I do it, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, so, but this last time I did let myself, I know you said I was pretty bad, but I think I was doing really good in comparison to past moves.
Moved with you before.
Well, in the past, it was tears and hysteria.
You weren't bad as in, like, you were, it sucked to be around you. It's just, I could see, how the process made you, like, really scatterbrained. Oh, yeah. You know? Yeah.
Complete.
You were, like, all over like, you couldn't, like, organize your thoughts. And I was like, oh, I've never seen her like this before.
Well, it was better than the crying hysterical version that is has become the pattern, which I broke this time, thank you. But it was still, it definitely causes a lot of stress, even though this was a good one, right? Like, I moved because I wanted to move into a house, like a nicer place, with my family that I love. Like, this was a great change, but still the process of it is always scary, because you start to think, what could go wrong? Like, if, you know, and then that's where you have to just, like, stop. I had to stop and be like, all right, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. Right. And I got to, like, let go of that. Like, I got to let go of the idea that I can control or micromanage every single thing, because I can't do that. And that's the other thing too, is if you're still in the process of, like, trying to micromanage and control every single goddamn thing around you or people around you, then that's definitely a sign that you're not in an awakened state yet, because you can't control others. You can't control every single aspect of your life.
It's expectations. Yeah. And that was a big one that I had to work on, was my expectations for myself and my expectations for other people. Right. Because my expectations for my expectations for other people were pretty high. Yeah. But my expectations for myself were even higher.
Mine are, like, I would never put.
And so I was constantly in a state of
disappointment
and frustration with everything and everyone. Because,
so I would never dream of trying to hold anyone up to my own expectations for myself, because they're impossible. Yeah. But I guess I probably used to. And like, I live now with the knowledge
that's how you become a failure too. It's like so funny because it's like when you have ridiculously high expectations for yourself and you don't hit those expectations, that's when you just wallow in the fuckets.
You get frozen.
Yeah.
You freeze.
Just like, what's the point?
Right.
Like,
That my graduate school programs taught me that lesson very well, because I was like, it's either perfect this the way I want it to, or just turn it the fuck in and get a grade, because I'm either going to perfect it and get an F because I didn't turn it in on time, or I have to just let it go. And that was hard for me. But yeah, like and like little things like that can be lessons too. Like this is all part of like the path of being, the path of being awakened, because I don't think that the majority of people are never going to be fully awakened, right? Because I think that if we reach that, we poof and go out of existence. Personally,
I would say fully awake. I mean, spiritual awakening is a first step. You know, it's not a,
because if we figure it all out, then we're just going to disappear, right? Because we wouldn't be in the matrix anymore.
Right? You keep saying that. I don't know.
That's my theory.
You know, I know that's your theory. I'm very much I don't know.
If the goal is to remember,
my head's too much in the classical philosophy to reconcile that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they say has happened in the past, though, right?
Well, Aristotle, he said that none of that could exist without this down here. So they were so the thing is, if you
as above, so below,
it's called helomorphism. Mm-hmm. But that was Aristotle, and that his ideas about helomorphism were they're probably the most oppositional stance he took to Plato and his followers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just saying, like,
somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
I don't think that, you become enlightened and you just go poof. I think about the the bodhisattvas, or of the of the real lineage out in the East, and there are the teachers that they will like literally sit in front of their students on a hilltop and then say like, okay, I'm done, and then they'll just like go into meditation and
die,
kill themselves.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
But their bodies don't disappear.
But I mean, poof is it? Because when I died, I popped, like, I literally, that's how I describe it, as poof. Like I just popped out of my body and was like there looking at it, going, oh, cool, I'm not in that anymore. Zero attachment to it. Like, it's like an outfit I wore, and now it's dirty in the laundry pile. Like, it was nothing. And that's what I mean when I say poof. Like, I don't mean like actually just
every time you said that, I always imagine you think that the body just vaporizes.
We just vaporize,
or it gets raptured. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works.
No. I mean poof as in like we just leave, just go. Because we figured it out. Who knows? But I don't know. Awakenings are definitely a process that most of us will be doing our whole lives.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think I had a spiritual awakening. I've been initiated, but I keep initiating deeper and deeper. Mm-hmm. And that the work is an ongoing process that spans many lifetimes.
Yes.
Yeah,
all of them so far, right? And and the point is to get back to the fact that you're not just you, that you're part of everything, right? But to actually know that, to say it is one thing, to know it is another. And even though I know it,
to know it's another, to come into
to embody
absolute union is like,
that's when you're done.
Masterful.
Yeah. Well, now you're done, and you can't teach anyone anymore because you're gone like that point, and you're not here anymore. But yeah, it's definitely that. And even though I experienced it on the other side, back in this form, it's still really hard to, accept it, because of the amount of difference that is, at least the amount of difference that is, that we're filtered to see in each other. It's really hard for me because there's people I don't agree with at all that I can't imagine that I'm part of.
That's part a difficult one.
And that's the point. That's why we all fight. Like, if you think about it this way, what is the one thing we can't do? What is the one thing that collectively we can't do? We can't get along with each other on a mass scale. Yeah. We can't. We always look at the difference between each other and say, well, that person believes in this. That person's Republican. That person's Democrat. Whatever. It's this and that. It's us against them. And like always.
It's weird because one of the things that I think about a lot is when we're talking about first principles or gods as personifications of first principles, right? Mm-hmm. War is a very ancient, I guess, transcendent first principle. Mm-hmm. And because, we tie Mars to war.
Right.
Why would we, I mean, this was the problem that I had with justice, right? That as a first principle, this is like law and justice. I'm like, why is this tied up in our gods? This is a human invention, right? Then I had to like experience it and go through it and like, okay, maybe there is a cosmic order behind it. So one of the things I constantly think about is war, mm-hmm. because war seems by all measures to be horrible, an extremely human endeavor.
Right.
However, in the esoteric literature, in the ancient philosophy, it is considered one of the most primal aspects of creation that is incredibly important.
Right.
And so was that the mystics, the priests of the ancient world, was that them trying to reconcile why they lived in a world filled with war, and not realizing that it was a human invention? I don't think so.
I think it's because you can't have peace without.
I think maybe it might be a primordial part or a necessary part of the creation, an intentional part of the creation, right? Yeah. Because you see it within the mythologies too, like the gods go to war with each other all the time. You look at the Old Testament. My God! Yeah. Hashem absolutely loved war. He wanted his people to go slaughter everybody.
Right.
So yeah, war is a tricky one. I haven't really come into direct experience with that. I think in the process, I mean, if I keep initiating further and further, I'm sure I'm going to have to deal with that on some level, come into some kind of esoteric understanding. But all I can do right now is conjecture about it because it's not within my direct mystical experience or personal experience, right?
Well, I think it's that we all are always at war with ourselves even.
Yeah.
It's an internal process that is manifested outwardly on a grand scale for the kind of war we're talking about.
Yeah.
But the war, I think that the origin point of that is the war within ourselves of like separation. Like we have an idea subconsciously that we are part of it, but then our existence here tells us the opposite. So we're constantly at war with ourselves about that. Most of us are. I mean, all religions too. Like they just want to fighting to get back, fighting to find connection, right?
Yeah.
So why not it play out on a grand scale? Because everything we do is just a mirror of internal processes, right? So, and also you can't have peace without knowing what war is.
Yeah. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'll probably find some gnosis on this in the Bhagavad Gita, because the stage there is war, right? That's the stage for divine revelation.
Right. And where does that one Thunder Perfect Mind come from? That book, right?
Thunder Perfect Mind?
Yeah, it comes from that.
No, that's the Nag Hammadi.
Nag Hammadi, right. Yeah, sorry. But like these are the same, like these ideas are all stemming from what? Internal processes.
Yeah. Well, because that's one of the things. The Thunder Perfect Mind is, I don't know, they don't necessarily know what goddess they're talking about, but if you read it, it looks a lot like Inanna, Ishtar, Astarte, Isis,
all of them.
Those ones, like the ancient, scary Near Eastern goddesses, right? And war is packed into her. Like the most primordial Near Eastern mother goddess is love and war at the same time,
right? Because you can't have because they both exist they're the same thing on different ends of the spectrum, right? Because like creation is violent.
Yeah,
it is.
It is.
Think about it. Like just think about our cosmos and how all of this allegedly came into being.
Yeah,
it's all from smashing into each other and fighting for space, right?
Fighting for space.
Yep. So
space-time matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And awakening is a deep philosophical process also. Like it causes you to have to think about a lot of things and have those conversations with yourself or other people
I think
about like what all this means.
I don't think philosophy is necessary for spiritual practice.
I think that it's important to question, like, what does it mean? Like, why am I seeing this? Why am I learning this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, that's just introspection,
when I say philosophical question, that's what I mean, like your own philosophies, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to, a lot of it's going to challenge your own understanding of things. So you are going to be at war with yourself about a lot of stuff you've been programmed to believe that is now obsolete in your experience.
Yeah.
And that can be very hard to do. And that's why I think a lot of people ignore it because it's just too much for them to handle, right? Like I always say that, like, if everybody had the understanding, like if the average person had the understanding of things that I do, right, that it might make their head explode, because it's so easy to be told what to believe. It's safe, but to be able to be able to ponder what's possible after seeing some of the stuff that I've seen is overwhelming. And I think for a lot of people, it would be too much. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because it's really hard. That's why it can be destabilizing, like I said.
Yeah, it gets exhausting too.
And frustrating.
Yeah, exhausting. I mean, I've been so frustrated recently, just so fed up with the cryptic messages, and it's like, I'm not going to sit down and decode this, stop,
But you know the answer. Oh.
Yeah, the answer. It's like, I'm so sick of hearing that. I'm so sick of hearing that. I'm just like, oh man. Yeah, I've been very frustrated by this whole, I'm just like every time I get one of these things, I'm just like, all right, cool. Don't care. It's like, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to sit here and try to unravel what you're saying, Right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like, it doesn't get easier. It gets actually probably harder, because as you go along through it, it's like, it gets deeper and deeper, and you're like, well, what the hell?
Exactly. I mean, and there's a part of me that's like, I just want to chill.
Like I don't have any more.
It's like every time I enter into that place where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, wrapped it all up on a bow, tied it. Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm going to chill for a little while. That's when like the activity picks up. And
of course. Yeah, it's trying to keep you on your toes.
It's very frustrating. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, can I take a break? For a little bit? Can I just like enjoy my mundane life a little bit?
I mean, so that's the balance. Yeah. And that's what I was talking about, obsession. That's what I mean. Is like, we can become obsessed with the idea of decoding everything or figuring it out. Yeah, there is no fucking answer. I don't think. I still am pretty convinced.
There is no answer. There's no point in trying to decode that crap, because you understand what it means when it's the right time.
Right. And also, what the hell are you going to do with it? Once you do know, it's like, we're still in human form. We can't really do anything with the information. It can be frustrating.
And that's what I get so frustrated about. Like, you already know. And I'm just like, look, I know that I know, and I know that I'm not going to know right now. And I know that like when I'm ready to know, I will know. So just like, stop saying that,
Like, like divine timing, damn it. Yeah, exactly. Leave me alone.
It's like, what's the point of saying that? Like, you're just teasing me,
Yeah, I think the point of it is to kind of like trigger something that's in there to start unfolding on its own. Yeah. And that's what it is.
I think I need to do a little work on. I'm so impatient with this stuff.
You're impatient and then frustrated when you get answers that you just don't like.
I snap at them all the time. Like, all the time. I'm just like, you know what? Like, screw you.
Like, okay, well, I know. Like,
that's not what I want to hear. Whatever. Yeah, that's not what I'm asking. Yeah, I say that one a lot. It's like, all right, cool. Like, because I start going on about past lives. I'm like, that's not why I'm here. So I don't really care about past lives.
Yeah. See, that's how I know now that is something you do need to care about, because if you have that visceral reaction to it. Of course. Because that's the thing I just said earlier. If you have a gut reaction, visceral reaction of a negative nature about something that comes up for you, it's where you need to be looking.
I'm just a forward thinker. I don't like.
There's no time.
I don't like the whole, like trying to find some like cool identity in the occult, like, I'm not the type of person that runs around and is like, oh well, of course I act that way, I'm a Taurus, and in a past life I was this. Like, I don't like being that person.
No, everybody in a past life was somebody famous, right?
No, exactly.
No, you weren't, probably. But like, maybe, but probably not. Maybe. But yeah, it's not, because the thing is it's not past. Everything's happening now. Yeah. Even though that makes no sense, it makes perfect sense. And like, time is not linear, so it's not about caring about the past. It's about caring about your now. Yeah. That's just, you're not experiencing at the moment because you're in this one. Mm-hmm. That's all. So you got to reframe your view on that. This is what it is, But, you know, it's just another part of your awakening.
Yeah.
It's probably coming next.
Yeah.
But then again, if someone's telling you they know what's going to happen for you, they're lying. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen for you, but you know, I have an idea. You know, it would make sense.
It would make sense.
That. But I can't tell you for sure, obviously. But yeah, so everybody's awakening is going to be different. It's going to look different. Their paths are going to be different, and the outcome, while the outcome will be also different, it'll still be the same.
Well, you call it my brand of clairvoyance or whatever. Mm-hmm. I can literally see how people are processing things, the emotional attachments that they have, their emotional reactivity. Like it's just so plain as day, obvious.
What about for yourself, I can discern. Though?
With me,
yeah,
I'm very aware of myself. That's why I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like yes, like I understand that I have reactive behaviors and emotional attachments, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very, very aware of those, right? I can see them, you know. And so I'm not saying that I'm a master of them, but because I know myself, I can see it in other people. I can see it exactly in other people.
Right. So yeah, and that is a gift. That is a gift. A lot of people overlook that. You know, you can see in others what you see in yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing.
Because I understand my reactivity and my attachments through these universal kind of symbols, right?
Yep.
And these universal symbols, they resonate with everybody. They attach. So the thing is, when I understand these symbols like within myself and how they operate within myself, I can see them happening in other people too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, same.
So it's like the situation, the words, all that kind of stuff, that's cosmetic.
Right, exactly.
The root of it is the same for everyone. It's the same with the planets. The planets behave the same exact way.
Exactly. And that's the thing that people need to understand is that it's going to look different for you, but the theme or the underlying symbology of it is the same.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only thing that we can say. Right. For sure. Right. Is that it's like that the thing that gets you there are all going to be tailored for you.
Yeah, no, it's like,
But the outcome will be symbolically the same.
If you understand how those reactions happen within yourself, you can understand what's going to happen when Saturn and Jupiter are conjunct, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
When Saturn and Jupiter are conjunct, then you can look at the person next to you as somebody's yelling them and then see the stars within them clashing with each other and the forces pulling on each other. And you're like, oh, yeah, that person is either... you see how they're processing it.
Right. Yeah. So that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, awakenings are part of the process if you're doing it right.
Yeah. I think spiritual awakening is a very common thing.
Yeah.
I think
if you're doing it right, you recognize
it. Yeah. Because you can see it. Like I said, my friends, a lot of them are agnostic, not religious at all, right? But you can see they all live spiritual lifestyles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to say that you're a spiritual person to be a spiritual person, right? You don't have to, I'm a spiritual person. In fact, I think the people that say that outwardly a lot are probably the least spiritual people.
Yeah.
You know? It's like...
Fake it till you make it, Dr. Stone.
Yeah. Don't use my words against me.
No, it works.
Yeah.
No, I didn't just wake up a wizard. I had to run around telling people I was.
But you are.
I had to don the robes.
Yeah. You had to cosplay it first before you became real.
Yeah, exactly. And then I had to assume the form. This is actually a master class in archetypal assumption. Okay? This is magic in themselves. I got the wizard name. I got the robes. You know. I did the study. It's like, you want to be what they told me I could be, whatever I wanted. And it was like, I'm going to be motherfucking Gandalf.
I bet your parents are so proud. Yes.
They're not. They're like, you are ruining your soul.
Your family name is like forever changed.
Yeah.
No, but you are what you are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but you say that, but I know different.
Yeah.
I know that's what you are anyways. I can see it. And anybody that knows you knows that too.
Yeah.
They do. Like, you think they do. They know. They may not like to admit it, but they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know they do. Because they'll say it behind your back, but they won't say it to you.
Yeah, because everybody, like those that are close to me know not to stroke my ego. They know that.
I don't know that.
Yeah. You don't know that. Well, yeah, because you love to do that. You do it all day, all day. It's like when we first started hanging out, I kept telling you, it was like, you gotta watch out, like what you're doing. You know, like you don't know what monster you're about to unleash by doing that.
I'm like, I'm about it. Let's do it. Yeah, because I think that you need people that are reaffirming what you already know about yourself, so that you know you're not crazy.
Yeah.
If they truly see it. Now, I have never told anyone else in my life that they were a wizard.
I never thought I was crazy, but I know now, ever since meeting you, that I was very rigid, right? I was very closed-minded. And you have opened my mind a lot.
Really?
Yeah, so it's been the different. It's been different because I feel like I've kind of like the dynamic of our relationship is I'm like trying to like give you a little form, right? or like a little restriction, a little bit of boundaries, right? And you are like breaking down the walls, you know, like the crusty calcification up here, you know.
Oh yeah. Like, and I like, that's funny that you say that because like I actually have something about that. That's weird. You bring that up. Because I have never been
calcifying.
I've never I've never been.
They're putting dots in the water. The CIA's putting dots in the water to close your pineal gland.
I mean, so you know, like about this is what I had written down earlier. It was like some people, there's all different types of awakenings, right? Some people are struck by lightning, and that awakens them, metaphorically. Others are the lightning, and they are doing their best to not burn everything down that they touch. That's where I'm at. Like, I've always been that way. Like, just burning shit as I go. Like, burning the bridges behind me, and just breaking down those walls because I don't acknowledge them.
Oh, yeah. You have an effect on people. Even adept magicians, you just being in your presence tends to, like, rip some things away, you know. It's crazy.
I don't know what that means, but like I just know that like I see things that I think are false and I'll say it. I'll just say it, like I think that's bullshit.
I mean on like you know, on a more spiritual plane. I mean, like stuff starts bleeding through when people are around you.
That's what I mean because like I see the things that are like the thing that I have, the ability I have is to see where not in myself, because that would be too easy. But in other people, like where they're hung up and like why and what that thing is, and like to try to get them. But the trick is to make them think it's their own idea, not mine.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm working through right now in my initiation. It's learning how to teach like an actual esotericist, like an actual wizard, because I've been waking up to I don't know, you've been with me through most of the process of basically being chewed out for being too plain as day, using clear language, not letting people come to the gnosis themselves, but just handing it to them and how it's a detriment to their growth.
I see that like that is what I try to do. I try because there are some people that you have to be direct with, but then there's other people that you just have to give them enough to let them figure it out on their own. Because providing it, like if you're like looking for a mentor or something for this process, or you know, like for the awakening situation, you think you're going through one, you want someone. The best teachers are going to be the ones that don't fucking give you the answer right out, because that defeats the purpose. It's a personal gnosis, right? It's supposed to come to you naturally, but you can have people that can help unlock it for you, but you still have to be the person that does the unlocking.
You need to be like the wizard gang Johnny Appleseed, like just planting little arcane.
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell. Yes, that's it. Is you have to deliver it in a way that allows the person to get it on their own. Like you can lead them to the water, but they have to drink it themselves, right? So, and like hopefully it's not Kool-Aid, but like, you know,
hopefully it's not Kool-Aid. Hey, I say drink the Kool-Aid, man. You know,
not poison.
It's a lot, not the poison one, but the, you know, it's nice on this side.
It is nice on the side. It is. It's like, it is nice. And like, I see so many people, especially, because I work predominantly with women that have been in trauma and suffering from like childhood trauma plus like narcissistic relationship abuse, right? That's like my kind of people that find me all the time.
Yeah.
And I could easily just tell them the answer, but that does nothing for their growth. So they have to be able to come to that on their own. And then, because otherwise it disempowers them.
Yeah.
And the beauty is when they find that power in themselves and are able to unleash it. Like, that's the point.
That's because with the work that we've been doing personally, I think it was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you were unlocking a lot of personal stuff. And that was an amazing process to see, because it wasn't.
No, you led me there.
It wasn't things that I told you. It was like just like as these things were unlocking, like watching your face and watching these like realizations that you were having. It's like, okay, this is working.
And that's teaching.
Yeah.
That's a teacher, is when somebody that leads you there, but doesn't give you the answer, but gives you the facilities and the space to be able to find it yourself. That is the best kind of teacher, I think, for this kind of process by far.
Were you the one that was telling me about bird language?
I did before. Like
bird language?
Yeah.
Not like actual
No,
birds,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you want it?
What?
I unlocked something.
What?
So why would it be called bird language?
Why would it be called bird language?
What god is associated with a bird?
I know.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
So the bird language.
The one I talked to.
Yeah. The bird language descends from the Hermeticists. That was the language they spoke because they were acolytes of Thoth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? God.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? Till
I didn't make that connection. I was just like, oh, bird language is the language of symbols. I didn't realize it was because of Thoth. Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't tell you that. I didn't not tell you that on purpose. I just didn't tell you that, I guess.
I unlocked that little piece a few days ago. I was like, oh shit. Oh, how did I not?
How exciting for you. Yeah, that's great. I forgot I told you about that.
I unlocked a lot.
Yeah.
I've unlocked a lot already.
Yeah, we're both doing lots.
Yeah. I started that on Wednesday, and I'm being it's really intense.
Yeah.
Super intense.
I could just say this.
Being handed a lot of stuff, but I'm pretty happy about it, pretty excited about it.
Yeah, so. That one was for Mercury for me was also super intense.
I know. I think I have to I have to revisit Hebrew, but I have to go into the Arabic alphabet. I have to master it. But the numerology behind it, the pictography behind it, and that is a daunting task, but I have a little magical help, so I'm not afraid. I'm gonna trust the process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We got a lot. Yeah. There's a lot that we can use to our benefit now.
That's the benefit of magic, and that's what I always say. Like when people are like, oh, I don't know what to do, or I'm stuck, or how do I do this? And it's just like, dude, you do magic, man. Ask, and
you shall receive, man.
If you can do magic to, summon a girlfriend, you can do magic to, summon a little emotional stability, man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
Like, why don't people ever think to do that?
Because that doesn't sound so sexy.
It doesn't sound as cool.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I summon some ability to manage my emotions.
I know.
It sounds pretty shit.
Come on, dude.
Pretty lame, but but that's actually a very awesome skill to have.
Yeah, no, one of the ones that I did the last time I worked with Saturn was I summoned from him like saving, like how to save properly, like save money properly. Yeah. Like what a lame, mundane thing to approach the god of time and death for, like. No, man. And I'm just like, hey, can you teach me like how to, save more effectively? I'm really bad at saving my money.
I asked how to be more of feminine, like, energy. Like I'm already a girl. Like what? But I'm already like, I'm bad at it. So then
I think it's deeper need to be able than that.
It is.
It's not a cosmetic thing.
No, it's a
being in touch with your anima.
Right. But the idea of saying that out loud sounds ridiculous. When you say it out loud, it sounds silly. But there's deeper meaning to all of it.
I think that's why people get so offended by it. Yep. It was funny. Yeah, it's like people get so offended by it because you're like, oh, like, you get more in touch with your masculinity or more in touch with your femininity, and they're either like, what do you mean? It's like I'm already a girl, or I'm already a man, or I don't believe in that. It's like you don't understand it. It's a deeper thing.
Yeah, it's not just the it's not just the physical appearance. It's
esoteric, cosmic, like relationship that you have to the natural forces.
Right, exactly. So yeah, ask for what you want or what you need.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you can identify it, if you can identify it, if you can be like, like I said, like I was like, I'm really bad at saving money. What am I going to do? Some magic about it, you know? Yeah.
Or I don't know what I need to do. Then ask about it.
Yeah.
Like help me figure out what I need to do. Like you can do that too. There's no rules here. So
there isn't.
There isn't.
And those ones are usually a lot more effective than,
than the specific ones.
Trying to conjure a girlfriend,
Although my conjuring boyfriend worked.
Yeah, yours did work. It only took you like 3 backfired love spells to finally
Dude,
figure out how to summon
It is true.
A boyfriend that was good for you. Yeah.
Was it 2 or 3?
I don't know.
Max is 3,
remember.
But I think it was 2.
Okay.
Didn't learn my lesson the first time.
Yeah.
Didn't learn my. Then I did learn my lesson the second time, and then that's when I just did the generalized.
Yeah.
Not looking for a specific person. Just this is what I'm looking for.
This is what I want from a partner.
From a partner, and that worked. But before, when I was trying to pin it on a person. It went very wrong.
Exactly.
So
it always will.
Yeah, because that's what you can't do that, man. You can't fuck with someone's free will. Can't do it. I mean, you could, but it's gonna not go well. I
turn out
promise
well for you.
that is something I can promise. It will not go well for you. But yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
All right. I think we are going to call it. Yes. Thank you guys for joining us today. Hopefully we will see you again next week.
Yep.
All right.
Bye. Guys.
You've been listening to Discourse, where we venture into the mysteries of esotericism, the occult, and the depths of spiritual exploration. I am Abammon the Great, joined as always by Dr. Anna Stone, bringing adept insights to help guide your journey. Remember, the path of wisdom is illuminated by both knowledge and experience. Until next time, continue your exploration and stay attuned to the unseen.